How much money was it supposed to be?
100,000 on Dolph.
Memphis police chief is asking everyone to stay home tonight after rapper Young Dolph is gunned down and killed at a South Memphis cookie shop.
A hit on whose head?
Big Jook had a hit on Dolph head or whatnot.
How much money was it supposed to be?
100,000 on Dolph.
Yo Gotti might be next in the feds' crosshairs. Word in the streets is they're quietly building a case to connect him to Young Dolph's tragic end. And the juiciest clues, they're spilling right out of the courtroom, where Hernandez Govan's trial is about to send shockwaves through the game. Some folks are whispering that Govan already cut a deal, possibly pointing fingers at Yo Gotti and his brother Big Jook, who, not so long after those whispers started, was found dead under suspicious circumstances. Now, here's the question everyone's scared to ask. Was Big Jook staying quiet to protect Yo Gotti? Because let's keep it real. Life was running too smooth for Gotti to gamble it all. He had Angela Simmons on his arm. CMG's roster was dominating, and his name was hotter than ever. Throwing it all away over some dusty old beef? That would have been reckless. So did somebody make a calculated move to wipe out any loose ends before things blew up? And don't forget, this upcoming trial has been delayed so many times, it's starting to feel like a mixtape that keeps getting teased but never drops. But now, Govan's day in court is locked in for August 18th, 2025, just days away. And he's not just some small-time player either. Prosecutors are hitting him with first-degree charges, conspiracy allegations, and even claims that he orchestrated a high-level hit that left the city talking for months. The hit on Young Dolph back in 2021 still sends chills through Memphis, but now it's getting even stranger. Turns out the entire case is partially sealed, and that's where the mystery kicks in. On July 29th, Judge Jennifer Mitchell locked away the motions and rulings like a vault. No public access, no peeking, nothing. And nobody's explained why. That's not the usual play, especially for a high-profile case tied to one of the city's most loved rap legends. When a courtroom goes that silent, it usually means one of two things. Backroom deals are brewing or powerful names are being shielded. And here's the part that made the streets lose their minds. Hernandez Govan is out on bond, just walking free, kicking it like nothing's wrong, on a $90,000 bond, no less. And get this, he already violated that bond and still got it reinstated. Now think about that. The alleged mastermind behind a major street plot is the only one out of all the co-defendants who's been granted that kind of freedom. Meanwhile, Justin Johnson and Cornelius Smith are rotting away in jail, barely getting crumbs from the legal table. Insiders close to the case are saying this doesn't smell like regular legal strategy. They believe this screams cooperation. Some even think Govan might have already given the feds exactly what they wanted. And maybe, just maybe, drop names like Big Jook or even Yo Gotti. And when you line up the timing, sealed documents, a reinstated bond, and a trial about to kick off with the key witness strolling around free, this isn't just unusual. This feels calculated. This courtroom showdown could crack the Dolph case wide open in a way we haven't seen since 2021. And if Yo Gotti's name even slips out inside that room, we might be staring at the biggest fall from the top in Memphis rap history.
We strongly encourage everyone to stay home if you do not have to be out.
Now, here's where the spotlight starts burning hotter on Gotti. People aren't just running wild with theories. Prosecutors tied to the Young Dolph case have straight up stated in open court that Big Jook allegedly put up $100,000 to make Dolph vanish from the picture. Court files and street whispers both claim Hernandez Govan was the go-between, the guy linking the shooters to both the cash and the target. Picture it like a chessboard. Govan was playing the strategy, Big Jook was moving the pieces, and CMG might have been the board they were playing on the whole time. When that 2021 hit went down, the two suspected triggermen reportedly expected to split a clean $100,000 payday. But here's the curveball. Instead of stacks, they allegedly walked away with a measly $800 to $1,500 each. And that money came from Jook, not directly from Gotti. That one detail has everybody in the streets asking, was this a CMG-financed move, or did Big Jook run the play solo? Because if that money trail can be traced back to CMG, even indirectly through Jook, Yo Gotti's whole empire could end up staring straight into the feds' spotlight. At that point, this isn't just rap beef anymore. It's looking like a full-blown organized conspiracy, and the shadows around it are getting darker by the day. Big Jook was taken out in January 2024, less than a year before Govan's trial. And that timing is way too sketchy to ignore. By then, Govan was already in custody, and the word in the wind was that he might flip. Then suddenly, Jook is gone. Some folks swear it was retaliation from Dolph's people seeking payback. Others believe it was something much colder, a cleanup move to erase a key player before he could be used as leverage against bigger names. Now put that puzzle together. Govan's trial is sealed tight. He's out walking around on bond, and Yo Gotti hasn't breathed a word publicly about Jook's death. That kind of silence doesn't just sound respectful, it sounds calculated. Meanwhile, Gotti's been keeping a poker face in public, acting like nothing's wrong. But behind the scenes, people are wondering if he's quietly playing defense before the real storm hits. The awards, the big money deals, the picture-perfect Angela Simmons relationship. On the surface, Yo Gotti's been living like a king, but behind the scenes, there's a growing buzz that he's been quietly locking down CMG's operations, almost like he's bracing for a major hit to the camp, because if Govan starts name-dropping in that courtroom, the next obvious target could be none other than Yo Gotti himself. And here's why his name won't stop circling. And it's not just about what could go down in court in a few days. It's about the fact that the one man who might have been able to take the fall for him is no longer here. Big Jook wasn't just Gotti's brother. He was the money man, the logistics plug, and most importantly, the bridge between CMG and the alleged triggerman who carried out that move on Dolph. Jook's death hit Memphis like a silent bomb. No suspects, no arrests, just a high-ranking street figure taken out outside a restaurant, only hours after laying a relative to rest.
Sources close to the family of rapper Yo Gotti confirmed the man killed outside a Hickory Hill event center is Gotti's brother.
But to anyone really paying attention, this didn't feel random at all. It felt personal, surgical, executed with precision. The chilling part, he was targeted right after attending a family funeral, in an environment calm enough for someone to make the play without any chaos, almost like it was meant to be over in seconds. Whether or not Big Jook was actually about to flip, just the possibility had people whispering. And in Memphis, that kind of talk is enough to put a target on your back. The part that really keeps the streets buzzing, how Yo Gotti moved after the fact. Or better yet, how he didn't move. No statements, no emotional posts, no public defense of his brother's name. That silence was louder than any press release could ever be. Because here's the thing. If Jook had been working alone, or if his death had been some random, unrelated street beef, you'd expect Gotti to come out swinging, clearing the air. But he didn't. And that's why people can't shake the idea that this wasn't just revenge, but possibly a calculated cleanup job to keep certain names off paperwork, especially with the feds circling and the Dolph case warming back up. Some even believe taking Jook off the board bought Gotti valuable time, a little breathing room to tighten up his legal game before anyone came knocking. But losing Jook was only the first domino to fall. His personal life took a hit too. Not long after his brother's death, Angela Simmons didn't make a scene, didn't go messy, she just walked away. Quiet, respectful, on her own terms. Just weeks before Hernandez Govan's long-delayed trial was finally locked in to begin, Angela Simmons dropped the quiet bomb. She and Yo Gotti were officially done. No screaming match, no messy social media shade, just a soft-spoken breakup laced with phrases like all love and it was my choice. But anybody really reading between the lines could feel the tension hiding under that polished delivery. Her talk about being in a growing and healing season sounded sweet enough, but paired with the fact that her exit came right before one of the biggest legal moments of Gotti's career, that timing spoke volumes without her having to say a word. Sure, some folks blamed his non-stop schedule or even his rumored closeness with Glorilla, but others saw something deeper. The kind of legal smoke that makes high-profile names start rethinking who they're standing next to and what that loyalty could cost them. Angela's no rookie to this game. She knows once the feds start circling, the headlines don't just hit the target, they splatter onto everyone in the frame. And with whispers about this case still tied to a major street plot and an active federal investigation, being in Gotti's orbit could have put her directly in the splash zone. To many, her decision to leave when she did wasn't random heartbreak. It was chess. A strategic, quiet step out of the blast radius before anything blew sky high. Now with Angela gone, Gotti's circle feels smaller than ever. No brother, no ride or die, just pressure building. the heat closing in, and a trial creeping closer by the day. But Angela wasn't the only one to quietly disappear from Yo Gotti's side. Black Youngsta did too. And you don't even need a breaking news headline to see something's off. All it takes is a quick scroll through his Instagram. This is the same man who made a name for himself going viral, flashing stacks of cash, clowning his rivals, and turning every post into a wild production. Now, dead silent. For someone who built his entire image on being loud, flashy, and even making it known he wanted to see Dolph out of the picture, this sudden vanishing act isn't just odd, it's unsettling. By 2025, Youngsta's presence has nearly evaporated, and both fans and industry insiders are clocking it. Some say he's laying low on purpose, maybe even following direct orders from Gotti to avoid drawing any extra attention, while the Govan trial creeps up. But others think it runs way deeper. Whispers say he might already be under heavy legal restrictions, or worse, sitting in custody with the whole thing kept quiet. CMG doesn't feel the same anymore. The whole camp's energy has shifted. Yo Gotti's name isn't getting shouted out like it used to. The flashy branding and wild flexes have been swapped for something cleaner, calmer, and more neutral. It's almost like the entire squad is moving in stealth mode on purpose, as if they can feel a storm brewing and nobody wants to be caught in the flood.
Angela Simmons, are you telling me right now you're in your single girl era again?
Yeah, I'm telling you that.
Black Youngsta's silence hits even harder when you remember his history with Dolph. The tension, the open disrespect, the back and forth shots in music and online. If anybody was going to speak up, it would have been him. But this time, nothing. Not a post, not a comment, not a whisper. Whether it's loyalty, fear, or part of a bigger legal game plan, nobody knows for sure. But the timing is just too perfect to ignore. At this point, the moves around CMG don't look random at all. They look coordinated. And if you've been paying attention to how the feds work, you already know the playbook. They start at the bottom, then work their way up. First, they snatch the shooters. Next, they lean on the middleman. Then they corner the money man. And when the whole structure is mapped out and the loyalty starts cracking, that's when they make the final move. On the boss. Right now, Gotti's looking more and more like that end target. We've already seen the early stages. Justin Johnson and Cornelia Smith are locked in, and word is one of them flipped, spilling key details about promised payouts and who allegedly handed down the orders. That's the kind of federal leverage that can flip a life sentence into a bargaining chip overnight. And right now, all eyes are locked on Hernandez Govan. If he's truly cooperating, the feds aren't just looking at street-level players. They're digging into who bankrolled, mapped out, and greenlit the move on Young Dolph. If Govan has handed over text threads, Cash App receipts, or anything tracing payments back to CMG leadership, that's the kind of evidence that can shift everything into RICO territory. And once the government can paint the picture that a hit was planned, funded, and executed through a structured network, the whole thing stops being street business and becomes a full-blown criminal enterprise in the eyes of the law. The pressure isn't just rising, it's at a boiling point. And all of this CMG storm loops right back to that infamous day in 2021 when Dolph was taken out in broad daylight at Makita's homemade butter cookies, an attack that shook Memphis to its core. What started as a tragic loss for the city is now unraveling into something far bigger, a layered, calculated operation that's being dismantled piece by piece. And if prosecutors can connect every dot from the shooters to the middlemen to the bankroll, then this stops being a local Memphis case and transforms into a full-scale RICO takedown, with the boss sitting at the very top of the target list. And if that day comes, Yo Gotti's name won't just get mentioned. It'll be splashed across paperwork in bold letters. An indictment like that would shake the entire Memphis rap scene to its core. Now, there's no official indictment yet, but the way Gotti's been moving lately, it's starting to mirror the exact pattern of someone bracing for one. He's not just quiet on social media, he's practically invisible. This is the same man who once repped Memphis on every stage, from red carpets to Rolling Loud, now fading into the shadows. That kind of retreat doesn't happen for no reason. It usually means serious legal plays are in motion behind closed doors. Meanwhile, Gotti's inner circle is crumbling piece by piece. Big Jook was taken out in public just as whispers about cooperation were picking up speed. Black Youngsta disappeared from the spotlight without a word, and Angela Simmons, she walked away quietly just weeks before Govan's trial date was locked in. One by one, the exits are stacking up, and they look a whole lot like Fallout. The real danger for Gotti? Cornelius Smith has already testified that Big Jook offered $100,000 to get Dolph out of the way, with Govan allegedly acting as the go-between. But here's the twist. That promised money was never fully paid. And when the streets and the courtroom both start asking why, the answers could land higher up the ladder than anyone's ready for. This is where the whole thing turns critical. Because in the streets and in the courtroom, broken promises often lead to broken silence. Hernandez Govan is the only major player in this case who's not behind bars or 6 feet under. And that fact alone has people convinced of one thing. He handed over something valuable. In a for-hire plot like this, the law doesn't care who physically pulled the trigger. Anyone who financed, planned, or knowingly made the move possible can be hit with the same weight of charges. If Govan turned over phone records, bank statements, or even showed how CMG funds might have been shifted in connection to the Dolph hit, that's more than enough to make the case. And the reason this trial is so pivotal isn't just about what's said in open court. It's about what's buried inside those sealed filings behind the curtain. Prosecutors don't lock cases down to protect the guilty. They do it to protect evidence still in play. And the fact that Govan's pretrial documents are hidden from the public screams that someone else is still under investigation. Here's the part that really hits. The feds have been using RICO to dismantle music crews for years, from Death Row to BMF to YSL. And if this CMG situation lines up the way some think it will, Memphis might be staring down the same kind of federal takedown that changed entire cities before. What starts as one violent act can snowball into an entire criminal enterprise in the eyes of the feds. And CMG is checking all the boxes. A label with real business structures, a paper trail of internal money flow, a history of high-profile conflicts, and undeniable connections to violent street incidents. The Dolph case isn't just being seen as a rap feud that spiraled out of control. Prosecutors are treating it like a planned contract carried out with an organized structure behind it. That's exactly the kind of setup that throws the door wide open for a RICO prosecution. And here's the kicker. In that kind of case, Gotti doesn't need to have pulled a trigger, sent a message, or been anywhere near the scene. All they have to prove is that he knew the plan existed and allowed his network to make it happen. If that hammer drops, it won't just be Yo Gotti's personal downfall, it'll be the collapse of one of the most dominant camps in Southern hip-hop history. And from the way the pieces are lining up, that collapse might already be in motion. When the dust settles, Memphis might never look the same again. So stay locked in, like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what's happening in our hood next. Because this story is far from over.